what we doing while we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMAjunkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook, you're listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show. We're the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our East co-host. Back east, producing Jumbo Josh. What up?
What's up, Holmes?
Not much, man. Love walking into the Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook and seeing an additional amount of heads. And what I mean by that is, you know, there's usually about 20, 30 people watching NBA, hockey. But I'm feeling a vibe. I've seen some college sweatshirts milling around in the lobby and buckets of beers and, you know, maybe an extra 10, 15 people. It's still early, and that's because March Madness is upon us.
I like it. It's my favorite time of the year, for
People
sure.
have been passing pools around. I don't know. My email's got like 3 or 4 I need to get into, and I need to forward those to others. But I'm pumped up, and I'm ready to go. Reminder that we will be off on Thursday and Friday in observance of the holiday we created 20-some years ago. It's called March Madness. And, yep, all day basketball on Thursday and Friday. Look, if we were still in our normal time slot, no problem. We do the show and then off to the races. But there's no way that Hoops is going to start at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and then we're going to show up here at 5 and not be inebriated.
Oh, no.
So it would be a clusterfuck, and you all wouldn't dig it anyway. Plus,
We've done it before. It's not fun.
at 5 p.m.?
I think one year we had to do a late show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, it gets really
I guess
loud.
we could do it and just not drink with our buddies, but yeah, we're okay. We're okay, man. We're gonna cover UFC Nashville, Bellator 218. Don't worry about it. We got you. We're here. We're here today. We're here tomorrow. We were here yesterday. You can catch any of our shows on the SiriusXM app, commercial free and in HD quality. So anytime you miss, not just yesterday's, but anytime you miss a show or portions of the show, again, HD quality, commercial free, can't beat it. Download the SiriusXM app. We're available. Busted Open is available. The Luke Thomas Show is available. MMA Tonight, At the Fights, boxing, pro wrestling, MMA. We got you. Also, follow us on social media at MMA on SiriusXM. That's the Twitter handle. And the phone numbers to call in and participate for the show is 877-FIGHT-93 or 877-344-4893. But come on, it doesn't get any easier than 877-FIGHT-93. You can just memorize that one. That's an easy one. All right, on today's show, we're going to talk to Mike Brown, the head coach at ATT. And let's not forget, at one point, he was the best 145-pounder in the world. He was the WEC featherweight champion when WEC housed all the best lighter weight fighters. So much respect to him, man. Just like Uriah Faber, he may not have ever won a UFC title, but it doesn't mean he wasn't a badass and one of the best, including the best at their specific weight class. He'll be on the show. He was cornering Jorge Masvidal this past weekend at UFC London. Marlon Vera, he'll join us as well. Current UFC bantamweight, fighting Frankie Saenz at the UFC Nashville card that I mentioned earlier. As is Angela Hill. She'll join us. All the guests are in the second hour, and it's in that order right there that you're hearing it. Angela Hill has got Randa Marcos. That's a good fight, man. That's a good fight for those two strawweights. And again, Nashville card, the one that's headlined by Stephen Thompson and Anthony Pettis. Angela Hill, Randa Marcos, they're on that card as well. So let's talk about some big news. Conor McGregor. All right. Remember, there was a little bit of an impasse there with negotiations and ego, and he wanted to headline an event against Cowboy Cerrone, and it looked like it was falling apart because headlining means, being the main event, the last one to walk out. And it doesn't if you're one of the pay-per-view stars for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, it doesn't matter if you come out first or last. If your contract says you're getting pay-per-view buys, boom. So it's now whether you're included on the roster, and then it's all the other stuff. I think in the past, some champions were afforded getting a suite. Conor's on another level. He just rents out his own mansion. And so he gets all that. He gets all the perks, but I think he just wanted to be at the top of the bill and be the main event. The UFC does not like headlining cards that don't feature a title fight.
Mm-hmm.
And because Conor's not a world champion or not fighting for a vacant title or for a division that's never been created, because that's always been a possibility as well, he would have to be a co-main event. He didn't want to do that. However, recently, he was saying that he's down for the co-main event, and he wants to throw down in July. July, of course, we all know, is International Fight Week, biggest week of the year for mixed martial arts. Got the Fan Expo, Hall of Fame, sometimes 3 cards back to back to back, but at least 2 for sure, including the monsters, the big the big pay-per-view on Saturday night. He says he wants to throw down in July, and he'll do it in the co-main event slot. Only problem is he wants a share of the company.
To be clear, I would take
Like a
that
piece.
fight if they gave me a share in the company.
Yeah, no shit.
Who wouldn't? That's kind of a ridiculous demand. However, wanting to fight Floyd Mayweather is also kind of a ridiculous demand when you're under contract with the UFC. So you never know. But they've kind of crossed this bridge before, and Dana's response to that was kind of comical, right? Like, we just ain't doing that. So why he would bring that up again, I don't know.
Well, it doesn't hurt, for one, to negotiate sometimes through social media or through the media itself, the MMA media, mainstream media, whatever. One thing's changed goes, the first time he did it, he was a champ. He was coming off the win at UFC 205 over Eddie Alvarez, and he had just acquired his second belt. He sold 1.2 million pay-per-views for that card in New York, which is very respectable. It wasn't the record. He had already broken the record with Nate Diaz when they had their second encounter months before that, 1.65 million pay-per-views. So he had already broken the record held by Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar led UFC 100, like almost 10 years before that, 1.6 million. Him and Nate had also had one that was 1.5 million earlier that year. So he had a beast of a year between those 3 fights. He was becoming the biggest star in MMA, finally overtaking Ronda Rousey. But you mentioned something. You said nothing has really changed. He's not going to get it. You're right. But one thing that did change is his superstardom just kept going upward, because he did fight Floyd Mayweather, and they broke some records as well. And then the big fight with Khabib, that shattered the existing MMA record. So I think he believes that he holds a better card. Like, he played poker a few years ago, and then he realized, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm not going to win my hand. I'll fold politely. A new hand was dealt, fresh shuffle, and I think he's looking, and he's got a higher pocket pair than he had before. That said, he doesn't realize the UFC is usually holding aces.
Well, I was just about to say, their cards are pretty good, too, because since then, they pulled out one card that says ESPN on it, right? I mean, the one thing that we always talk about with Conor and the necessity for having him out there is they got to pay back these huge loans, but it seems like they haven't had a problem doing that. And then you add on these ESPN deals, and then adding on to the ESPN deal. ESPN's not run by a bunch of idiots. I think they do their due diligence, and they don't really get in bed with companies that just aren't pulling it off. So I just don't know that really much is going to change from the first time he tried to do this. I don't hate him for trying, but come on, man. I mean, he doesn't have that many fights left in him, and eventually he's going to go away. They're going to replace him with more stars. It's just a recipe that keeps happening
I think
over
he's
and over.
entitled to ask for more money, but the whole I want a piece of the company, I just don't ever see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. Now, if he were to, in his next 3 fights, if he were to just break 2.4 million with 2.8 and 3.6, I mean, who knows? Maybe we need to revisit it. But at this time, from what I can see, he definitely deserves a bigger check. No problem. We all make money. Go ahead and fight, Conor. Do your thing. But that whole equity in the company, I don't see that one. I don't see them
I don't see it either.
doing that. But the good news is at least he's willing to take the co-main event slot. I don't think it only hinged on that.
I like that he said he'd fight the first fight of ESPN +1, right? Or
Yeah.
he would just do that first fight.
First fight.
He just wants to get in
Go
there and
upstairs,
get that
watch
ownership.
popcorn, and drink some proper 12 whiskey.
But I don't believe that either. But
Yeah. So that's just a quick update there for all you Conor McGregor fans. Biggest star in the sport, no doubt. But I think we're still witnessing the hand of poker still being played. I don't think he's gonna get that, but hey, if he just gets more money than before, then he'll be okay. You know, Dana White's been asked before, what's this guy like? And Dana always puts him on a pedestal. Oh, he's a unicorn. He's a pleasure to be around, and I wish they were all this easy. He'll fight anyone, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that it's as smooth as he paints it at times. Because he did take him off a card once, UFC 200. You didn't do media day, you're off, you know? So he couldn't have been pleasant that week. But regardless, one thing that I always catch on to is that he says Conor never renegotiates a deal. He always sticks to a deal. Now, what does that mean? Just whatever I've agreed to, $3 million to show, but maybe that whole pay-per-view bonus structure, maybe that changes? Because I got to believe, it sounds like to me every time Conor says he's going to fight again, that's exactly what he's implying is more money, more money, more money.
sounds like it.
Yeah. Now, again, it's either all a ruse or not, but it also appears on his social media, if you follow him, that he's got more toys, which means more money, more money, more money. And Forbes does their due diligence. He keeps climbing on that list too.
Yeah. But he's also got a lot of outside ventures now, which help with that. But you're right. I don't think that it's all roses when it comes to that guy. It's not so much a slight on him. It's just, or Dana White. It's really when you have personalities that big, all in a room, they're going to clash at some point. I think it'd be ridiculous to think that everybody would get along at that capacity. Dana's been doing the rounds, though, hasn't he, media-wise? I
saw that. Yeah, he had one with Cerrone. He had one with sorry, not Cerrone. He had one with Ioli.
Uh-huh.
He had one with, of course, Junkie. He had a one-on-one with Megan Levy. So that's been pretty interesting. But I do want to say something. Cerrone. Let me circle back to that. Cerrone was the one that was involved in the whole co-main event, no co-main event. That ship has sailed, it looks like, for Cerrone. He's now signed on to fight Al Iaquinta at UFC Ottawa, which also is known as ESPN +8.
Okay.
So Cerrone is out of the McGregor sweepstakes. Who does that leave? I think we all can agree that Ferguson's out right now.
Yeah. So in one of those interviews, he had mentioned that Ferguson was offered Iaquinta, and then it just appears like he's just not ready to fight.
No, I don't think any of us want that for Tony right now. We all want him to just get better, and I don't think that's something that could have happened in this last week or so.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to assume that for now, Ferguson is. We circle back in 60 to 90 days. I'm not familiar with how that works, but let's just pick that number, and I think that sounds about right to be evaluated just to see. Physical, it seems like he's a beast, like he's always been, but I think the issues that were brought forward last week with those temporary restraining orders, that's something that needs to be looked at. And Tony's embraced it on social media, thanked his management in the UFC, and he says, I'm going to get better. So we remove his name out. We pull Cerrone's out of the hat. We obviously pull Iaquinta's out, but I don't believe Iaquinta was ever in the McGregor sweepstakes. But it makes sense to just throw him in there. What's left? Khabib. Khabib says he's not fighting till November, and I firmly believe it. It looks like he's just going to stick to that. But they could rematch. Awful as it would be. Except for
and all this time
except for Nurmi's pocketbook. But yeah, it just makes no sense. That fight doesn't need to be ran back. All right, who are we left with then? Ben Askren. GSP retired, and he would have to go through 6 months to get back in. Even if that was just a bluff, he would have to go back into USADA pool for 6 months before he could be a player. There's the Anderson Silva play. Well,
I don't even think that's realistic.
He's got to fight. I'm just going through every one that he's been linked to, yeah.
Okay.
Silva's got to fight. course, that fight happens, in about 2 months and well before July. There's always the Nate Diaz trilogy, which I'm warm to because it doesn't interrupt the lightweight.
But it's
division.
not going in that direction because he's been kind of linked to Masvidal.
Who has?
Nate Diaz.
Has he?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
We've been talking about that.
Did I not hit refresh somewhere or what?
Well, no. It's just been talks. It seems like those two are trying to link up. But I think it all started with a Nate tweet.
Hey, I'd love to see that, man. I'd love to see Masvidal against either Diaz brother. Those Diaz brothers just need to be fighting. I don't know. Going back to what I was saying, if Cerrone's out, okay, so Cerrone's out. Let's just say the UFC goes, yeah, we are going to give you a piece of the company. Or let's just say they figure it out. Who in July would he be fighting?
You're gonna give
the
him
winner of Poirier and
Holloway.
And Holloway, if Nurmi is kind of butting heads with the UFC, and I'm not implying that they are, but either that or Nurmi or what's left? Like
The Nurmi one is just like it's almost like a slap in the face to everyone.
A new division versus Ben Askren?
But they just seem so cold on it. Every time we feel like it's got to be here, it's got to be coming around the corner, they just
65?
put their foot down. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Whatever the response is, whatever the answer is, I think it's going to catch us all by surprise. I don't think it's one that we can all just forecast.
It could be Holloway and Poirier. He's got history with both. However, that would mean that there was...
They need to have an incredible performance, both of them. Whoever wins that fight needs to come out where you go, holy crap, that guy's the man. That's the only way you can give him
that would mean that there's turmoil with Nurmagomedov, because otherwise they would just wait to rematch him with... But what I'm saying is, I think sometimes I can leave some steps out and people can assume what I'm getting at. In other words, if Nurmagomedov was already going to fight the winner of Holloway and Poirier, then we'd have to wait for that fight. We'd have to wait for Nurmagomedov versus the winner of Poirier and Holloway, and then have Conor McGregor fight one of those people. That's not July, though. That's what I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. So all I know is at least he's open to it, but he's put out there, his criteria of what must be met. And I don't think the UFC is going to do it, so therefore it's just a negotiation tactic, and we'll see.
Who are the guys that he could fight, lose to, but still not get crushed? In other words, he lives to fight another day. If he fought Nate Diaz and lost, he would have lost to him twice.
Silva, because he's a bigger guy.
Okay, I agree with that.
Not Nate, because they're both lightweights.
It's one of those.
Conor at one point was a featherweight, but I think he's well established as a lightweight. He became a world champion as a lightweight. I think you can't fall back on that one and say, well, he's bigger than I am. Unless it was the bigger brother, Nick, who's been an actual welterweight most of his life. Mm-hmm. But Nick is so far out of the picture that I won't even throw that one out there. So I think he could fight Silva, lose, and it wouldn't hurt the stock. I think he could fight GSP and lose, and it wouldn't hurt his stock. Maybe even Ben Askren lose, and it wouldn't fight his stock.
Oh, I think Ben Askren would hurt a lot.
Hurt McGregor's stock?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. You know what I'm anxious to see is whoever McGregor fights, how many pay-per-views are sold? How much did Nurmagomedov hurt McGregor's stock when he beat him this past October?
That's true.
I mean, they sold 2.4 million, but those sales were done before the fight happened. Once the fight happened, how many people said, "Oh, I'm done"? Did it John Kreese? Turned around and gave the back to Dutch in the Karate Kid movie. I'm moving on to my next guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where's Bobby Brown? Where's Johnny Lawrence? I don't know. McGregor fans seem to be pretty damn loyal because he's a showman. And win or lose, you won't see anything like a Conor McGregor experience when it comes to flying to the event, being there on fight week, watching it, the fight parties that happen. I mean, they're pretty damn special.
Can I share with you something
Sure.
about Cowboy Cerrone?
Yeah.
I don't think that fight would sell that much. I think a lot of people are looking at it as like Conor versus the Cowboy, and they're going to be in each other's faces. I don't know that Cowboy's that guy. I think he used to be a little bit of that guy, but now he's like more mature and he's just kind of chilled out. I don't know if it's the kid or what, but he kind of just remember like Masvidal kind of got in his face a little bit, and he just like, I don't think he really cares that much. And I think Conor McGregor, especially
McGregor can
right
pull
now,
it out of you though.
I don't think he can pull it out of Cerrone. That's my point. is I think right now he needs a dance partner. More than ever, he needs it now.
I've got it. You asked the question, who could he fight and it wouldn't hurt his stock?
Mm-hmm.
Aldo at 55.
Oh.
Why? Because if he loses, they're 1-1. And Aldo is a big name in the sport of mixed martial arts.
Okay.
And I'm not crazy, right? That fight could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
155, huh?
155 Aldo.
And Aldo would be happy if it's a co-main, right? I mean, yeah, 'cause
Oh,
he wouldn't have to.
he would love that.
He wouldn't have to do 5 rounds.
Yeah. So true.
Wow. Okay.
All right, folks. So there you have it. That's kind of the latest. We've kind of run through a lot of possibilities there of what my – look, if we left one out, please call in 877-FIGHT-93, 877-344-4893. But we pretty much hit the whole roster. I think everyone but Cyborg and Randa Marcos was matched up against Conor McGregor. So I'd love to hear if we left one out. And remember, Cerrone and Iaquinta have just been booked. That story went up today. They're fighting in Ottawa, and that's UFC on ESPN +8. How about you, Josh? Did we leave one out? Can you think of one?
Deontay Wilder, maybe. I mean, he turned down that DAZN deal today. No, I mean, I think you've covered the gamut. I mean, no one wants the Floyd rematch. I don't know how many people want the Beeb rematch. I really like this Jorge Masvidal Nate Diaz fight, though. Side note, but no, when it comes to Conor, no, we've covered just about everything. I guess now it's just a game of chicken, as it always seemingly is when he's negotiating. You know.
Yeah, you're so right. That's usually what it turns into. All right, we're going to take a break here. Goes had mentioned Dana White, and he's been doing the rounds. Well, we'll tell you why when we come back. Not just ESPN and the UFC are in bed together for the next 7 years. The UFC and Dana White. Something happened there too. We'll talk about it when we come back. MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93.
Champions, Hall of Famers, legends. The very best coverage of the fight game is right here on SiriusXM, Fight Nation Channel 93.
on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. Go Lakers! Fuckers. Started off so good. Got up to number 4 in the conference. LeBron Hurts is growing. And now they're out of the playoffs. LeBron's on the other side of the bench. You were right, goes.
Ingram surgery.
Lonzo Ball, his pussy hurts. I mean, some of these guys are soft, man.
I know, man.
Whatever. I don't know what's gonna happen next year, but I know we have money to sign a superstar. LeBron's staying because LeBron still look, he may kind of act weird and cunty or whatever you want to call it, but every time I look, it says 29 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. So I mean, he's balling.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. Something about that vibe. You know what I mean? He didn't seem to click. He clicked a little bit with Kuzma and maybe a few of the other guys, not so much. Whatever. It's just frustrating to see them on the read. And I thought right now we'd be going, yeah, baby. What's up, Lakers? We said so.
Yeah, use the Timmy Lupus mindset. And another thing, just wait till next year.
Yeah.
Just look at it that way, dude, because we're garbage this year.
Yeah. All right. So the UFC and ESPN signed a 5-year deal at the end of last year that started here in 2019. It's $300 million for 5 years. Or, as you probably read last year, it was a deal worth $1.5 billion. And, how I arrived at that, for all you that went to public school, $300 million times 5 years is $1.5 billion. All right. So, what happens here is that's a phenomenal deal for them. I think they threw a number of around $450 million is what they were looking for. But remember, $300 million was also 3 times more than the $100 million per year they were getting from Fox. So 5 years only. The Fox deal was 7. But either way, you're with ESPN. And here we are. It's March 19th. I think this deal was struck last week. That's why Dana White, at least according to Ariel Hawaiian from ESPN MMA, that's why Dana White tweeted the 3 smiley faces, which he always does when he has good news. So we'll say, we'll say March 15th. 2.5 months into this ESPN deal, it was so good that ESPN said, we need another 2 more. We need to add 2 more years already. I mean, that's the earliest negotiation I've ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you wait till the final year and then
let things play out a little bit.
They call it a contract year and they say, all right, let's sit down, let's hammer this thing out. But 2.5 months into the UFC ESPN deal, one of the two, according to Dana White, kind of sounds a little bit more like ESPN. They liked what they saw, and they added an extra 2 years. So now the UFC and ESPN are in bed together till 2025. But it must be that big of a hit for them that they just said, lock these guys in.
Well, and Dana and Ari Emanuel, right? They got 7 years.
Correct.
So 7 more years of them.
Dana was going to be part of this transition for one, if you recall, in 2016, the UFC, which was known as Zuffa then, sold to WME IMG. Now they're known as Endeavor. And they kept Dana White around. They gave him a really, really nice contract. And they said, you're still the figurehead. You run things. And Ari Emanuel and Patrick Whitesell, who are like the 2 big names from that group, Endeavor, I believe they participate in things like this, like ESPN deals or whatever. But for the most part, running the operations, putting fights together, that kind of shit, that's Dana White. He must have made them so much money or accomplished everything that they had set out to do in the first 2 years that they said, we're keeping you through the 7 years of the ESPN deal. So Dana White and the UFC, they're staying together. So, no, let me say that again. Dana White is re-upping with the UFC. Mm-hmm. He'll be with them through 2025. Everything will mimic exactly how the ESPN deal is with the UFC. So everything's just kind of in place there. Look, I remember that when the UFC had their first deal, they were very public about the fact that ESPN Plus got 500,000 subscribers. It was just over that, 528, 548, something like that. And they were happy because at $5 a piece, that was an investment that was already paying off just after the first event. What they're up to now, I don't know. But fans were signing up, and so they were ecstatic about it, and they got off to a good start. And then, of course, the news from the other day is now ESPN Plus is going to house for the United States, anybody in the United States only. If you're going to order a pay-per-view, you're not going through DirecTV. If you're watching it at home, DirecTV, Dish, and on demand, what's it called? On demand.
On demand.
Forget about it. you have to go to ESPN Plus. So that's going to drive even more subscriptions. And I imagine ESPN's going to get a little bit of a cut of that, of the pay-per-view, because now they're not sharing it with the other pay-per-view providers.
Which was a pretty decent chunk. Yeah. This is kind of like, well, probably the next best thing to what I think you brought up. Either you or Dan brought it up the other day, and that's what WWE has in just housing the whole thing, right? It's like something in the middle.
Right. Now, WWE has, I think their price point is like $9.99, if I'm not mistaken. And you get all the pay-per-views. It's pretty incredible. The UFC was able to drop theirs from $64.99 to $59.99. So there's still work there to be done before we match anything that the WWE is doing. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know that the UFC is really making any bad moves anytime soon. They just seem to be striking gold for the last few years. I mean, a few things like PR, they take some PR hits, and some things don't come off smoothly. Remember when Fight Pass first started, people were like, what the hell? And now it's pretty clean, and people love it.
It wasn't as bad, huh?
Looking
back, it had a few weird things here and there.
It's pretty solid
The
now.
ESPN app, for it debuting and all that, I thought that's about as solid as you can get. Like, if you're assigning a grade,
they need to add bells and whistles. They need to add bells and whistles.
But, you know,
I like
sometimes
the 10-second rewind, things like that would be nice.
Sometimes Basic's good. It's just easy. That's what kind of got me. It was just easy to use.
Yeah. So, listen, there's a lot that was covered there between UFC and ESPN, UFC and Dana. We have a bunch of cuts from an interview that Dana White did with Megan O'Leary. And I want to play a few of those just so you kind of get a feel of Dana explaining to you all some of the finer points of some of the stuff that we discussed. So let's do that. Let's do a couple of those, and then we'll take your calls. 877-FIGHT-93, 877-344-4893.
They're already warming up. They're hitting pads right now. We got Kevin in Chicago, Marco from Waco, Joey in Toronto. They're in the Harley-Davidson prep point.
All right, now we need a cleanup batter, whoever's going to follow those three. Let's do the first couple there. Dana White on the ESPN deal.
Yeah, so right out the gate, day one, these guys were incredible partners. And we're very aligned with them in that I believe in everything they're doing and the direction they're going in with the network. It's the same direction we're going in. So I say it all the time. Everything in life is about timing, and the timing couldn't be better for us to be with ESPN. So, you know, these guys came in, kicked the tires, looked under the hood. They liked what they saw. And now we're going to go with them with everything. Pay-per-view is going to be with them. The fights that we're doing on ESPN Plus and ESPN Linear.
All right. So there's just kind of a overview of what they plan on doing. But this is a little bit more specific here. This is cut number 2, how this deal affects the fans. And then we'll go with number 3, back-to-back, how ESPN will change UFC Fight Pass for the next 7 years. I know a lot of you have been asking for that. I've been trying to be as explicit as I can that ESPN Plus is mostly for the American audience only. A lot of you are going to have plenty of use for the UFC Fight Pass, but let's listen to what he has to say.
Oh, it's incredible for the fans. When you think about it, this is an exclusive deal. We are exclusively with ESPN, right? So these guys are going to, when we were with everybody, we couldn't even offer discounts on pay-per-view and things like that. You'd have to get the approval of all these different groups.
Right.
Now it's a one-stop shop. ESPN's going to be able to bundle ESPN plus the pay-per-views. And it's not all worked out exactly how it's going to go down. But this is amazing for UFC fans. They're going to be able to get so much more value out of the fights, whether it's ESPN Plus or pay-per-view, now with everything being with ESPN. We did this because this is good for everybody. It's good for us, it's good for the fighters, and it's absolutely positively incredible for the fans. And people will get nervous about this whole streaming thing. I hate to break it to you guys, but streaming is where everything is going. So if you have Netflix, you have Hulu, you have any of this stuff at home, that's basically what ESPN Plus is. You get it the same exact way as Netflix and these other streaming services. It's exactly the same.
And that's how they'll get their pay-per-views.
Exactly. Like I said, the value is going to be better for everything that you've been paying for the last almost 20 years. And now with what we're doing on UFC Fight Pass, I'm going to be doing so much incredible content that has to do with all different types of fighting and unbelievable stuff with MMA. So between us and ESPN, there's never been a better time to be a fan. And we had a 5-year deal with them. Now we have a 7-year deal. And Ari Emanuel and I just signed a new 7-year deal too. So we're here for 7 years. ESPN's here for 7 years. And the incredible things that we're going to work on, I just can't even tell you how pumped I am for all of this stuff.
Now, one thing I will say is, I wouldn't say, like, yeah, we have Netflix, had it for fucking 10 years as well, Hulu, all that other stuff. TV isn't just going to go away. He's kind of almost making it sound like that, because there's also other big news, like the one he shared. There's other big news, like the NBA's got a $24 billion contract, I think it is. You know what I mean? Guess what? Television. You know what I mean?
But it's his job to
football,
sell it that way, right?
Right. But don't say it to us like we should just, the next garage sale, make sure you get rid of our TV, because this is the way it's going. Phones, tablets, laptops. I mean, granted, the TV, I know how it works through Roku and Apple. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's still, you see,
I think you do need a smart
Champions
TV now,
League,
though, right?
everything. Huh?
I think you need a smart TV, though, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not easy to just, you voiced some concerns. It's not easy to just say, oh, cool, now I'm going to go to that. I mean, it takes a while to get used to that. But I think slowly but surely, I don't know what the percentage is. I remember when VHS was all the rage, I thought everyone had one. And then you would see on television that maybe 50% of households had it. And then it eventually got to the point where 90% had it, but not everyone has it. It takes a while to get to that point. We're not all just slinging dough, Some people have tight budgets. But regardless, all right, let's take some calls here. Let's start. Who's leading off?
Let's start off with Kevin from Chicago.
What's up, Kevin?
What's up, guys? So Dana White's back on board for 7 years. I really hope he keeps it neutral, because he likes to play his favorites. He likes to play his favorites with Darren Till. He said, what did he say about, I got plans for Darren Till. I got plans for him. If he's going to be on board for another 7 years, I hope he calls it down the middle. He doesn't play his favorites. He did the same thing with Rousey. Like, she went on a whole press tour, brought her in, and built her up and saying she's the best thing since sliced bread, blah, blah, blah. I got another point to make. Are we only talking about the ESPN deal?
Nah, just go for it. You have free reign.
Okay, free reign. I hope Dana White plays it down the middle. Doesn't really put his foot in his mouth in that sense, because you guys got Leon Edwards, a guy like Leon Edwards. In his last 10 fights, his only loss is to Usman, the champ. He's got wins over Tumanov. He's got wins over Conor Nelson, wins over Barberena, a win over Vincent Luque. Vincent Luque, he's on a tear right now. All these guys are really good. But Dana White didn't have any plans for him. Still putting him up against Gunnar Nelson, who's ranked, I don't know what he was ranked, but he was ranked below Gunnar Nelson. He was ranked below him. It's time. I think Leon Edwards needs a big fight.
All right.
So who do you think he should fight next?
So, okay, we did give you free reign, but we got to cut you off right there. Look, this is kind of like a theme with all of Kevin's calls. I totally understand where he's coming from. Mm-hmm. I'm not even saying he's wrong. But that's just not going to change, okay? It's something that Dana White's been doing for a long time.
He's always going to talk about his biggest stars.
And as long as they're making money, he's just going to keep doing it.
And usually he's answering questions. Like, he doesn't have a press conference and says, like, he doesn't call all the MMA media and say, today I'll begin with talking about Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was born, he doesn't do that. He says, who's got the first question? And people go like this. They raise their hand and they go, hey, Ronda Rousey, man. What's next for her? And then the next one's a follow-up.
Yeah. So now, if I'm Dana White and I were to say to you, George, asking me about Ronda Rousey, she's cool. Want to talk about Leon Edwards, though? The people aren't going to do that.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a reason why he does
that breakout fight, and Leon Edwards has had a series of them, including the win over Gunnar Nelson. And so, therefore, I think he'll get a solid fight booking coming up next. But at the same time, I believe Dana White books... He's a matchmaker, too. He's a promoter / matchmaker. He books main events, usually, and quality co-main events, like when you have 2 title fights or whatever. The rest he leaves up to the matchmakers that he's had, that he's entrusted for the last few, well, maybe Sean Shelby's only, Mick Maynard's only been there for a couple of years, but Sean Shelby's been there for at least a good 10. He was WEC guy, and then he's been UFC guy for quite a while. He knows what the hell he's doing. But all that's done by Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby, and they try and place these guys. So I would expect Leon Edwards to headline a fight night or be on a pay-per-view main card. But title fight, no. He's not getting that. In fact, who do I think he might get? Who else is coming off a win? Masvidal. Who does he have heat with? Masvidal. I would love for Jorge Masvidal to get a title shot, but I just don't feel like he's outperformed what Colby Covington's done. What he did was amazing on Saturday, and he probably cut the queue on a couple people. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to have a Colby type of run to get a title shot. He just probably needs one more of those, and he may really, really get that title shot he's looking for, because he's Jorge Masvidal, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Did we hit everything?
Yeah, pretty much.
Who's next?
Let's go to Marco and Waco.
What's up, Marco?
Marco from Waco, ¿qué pasa, vatos?
¿Qué pasa, man?
So, I'm going to be a little bit long on the run, but let me just flow with it. First of all, to Kevin, I guess Ari Emanuel saying that Dana White is worth enough to give him a 7-year extension. So, quit ranting on freaking Dana. I mean, whatever he's doing it right, because they're paying him to stay 7 more years. Now, with Conor wanting a stake of the company, that ain't happening, because the UFC, I don't think their main revenue stream is pay-per-view anymore. I mean, we talk about the $1.5 billion a year for 5 years with ESPN. Just for the additional 2 more years, they're throwing $600 million more on top of it. So that would be a $2.1 billion a year. Let's not even talk about the licensing fees for the pay-per-view. Plus, they're going to get more revenue because it's going to come directly to them. I guess the split is going to be very favorable for the UFC. And all the licensing they got with TSN in Canada, BTA Sports in freaking the UK, the other licensing fees that they're getting from all the other freaking networks around the world, they're probably racking up $700 million a year on freaking licensing fees alone. Freaking sponsorship with ESPN, next time the Reebok deal is up, believe me, Under Armour, Adidas, and Nike are going to be taking a look at the UFC. Next time it's going to be more than $70 million deal. So, yeah. The UFC is not crying for money. The pay-per-view revenue is just an icing on the cake. So Conor, I think, have a weaker hand at this day and age to freaking ask for more. And with this ESPN Plus being pay-per-view, only ESPN, I'm sorry, I think this is the end of the cable pay-per-view freaking model. Because the one heavyweight we got on pay-per-view cable TV was the UFC. The WWE is gone. Boxing throw one good pay-per-view once a year, and the rest kind of suck because the numbers speak for themselves. The only player that was put in 300,000 on average, and then 500,000 and $1 million at least a couple of times a year was the UFC, and that is not even available for the cable providers. So big win for the ESPN and a great win for the UFC. Peace out.
Good call.
Yeah.
I don't know that I like his strategy, where he's just gonna rant and we gotta suck it up. You know, just walk into a room and tell a girl, "Lay down, I'm gonna do some crazy shit," but it's cool. But he did have good. He did have good points. I think the death of pay-per-view was WWE. I think that was the start of it. Think about it. I don't want to be like a freak or nothing, but
the death of pay-per-view was WWE. Okay.
For cable and stuff like that.
Okay.
Go back like 15 years ago. That's how you would, unless you could hide a Playboy from your mom and dad, ordering those little shows on your TV is how you got your porn.
Yeah.
Then the internet came, took that away from them.
Right.
WWE did their own thing. Boxing doesn't really do that much anymore. UFC was like the most consistent thing they had. Let's go to.
Let me say one thing.
To George here in Vegas.
Well, hold on a second, George. Hang tough for a second. I do want to say this, Dana. I think a few of you need to. I don't want to say back off. You're all entitled to feel however you feel about somebody, an event, a fighter, or Dana White. Ari Emanuel keeps Dana White, and I'll say this. Dana White, I don't believe, wakes up wanting to be an asshole. His job is to be an asshole. Because think about all these fighters that you have to play chicken with. Oh, yeah, you're not going to fight in the card? You're going to sit out? Okay, cool, we're going to do that. He's got to do that with, maybe not all 600, but at least the top 50 names. He's got to do that with them. He's the only public figurehead that speaks, that does the big PR. And I think he's just accustomed to kind of being a jerk. You know what I mean? And being the bad guy. But make no mistake, not anyone could just do that either in this sport. and I think Ari recognizes it, and that's why he's rewarding him.
Good
You could bring in another solid business executive to do that job, and but I think the jury would be out as far as like whether they would be successful or not, because you cannot let. I mean, handling Conor alone is probably Ari probably keeps him just for that. Honestly, you know what I mean. George from Vegas, what's up, George?
No, that was a joke, George, because you started talking, so I said let's go.
Oh,
George,
I gotcha.
Joey in Toronto.
What's up, Joey?
Hey, boys, how are you?
Good, man.
Good. I completely agree with your point with Dana just to start it off there. I mean, they wouldn't have signed him on for another 7-year deal if he was doing a bad job. The guy's obviously a genius at what he does, and he's going to continue to do that. My question, though, was with the pay-per-view regards to being in Canada. How are we affected in Canada with the pay-per-view change, and how does it affect the bars as well? Do bars and pubs that put on the UFC fights, do they have to have ESPN Plus as well,
No.
or are they a separate entity?
No, they're a separate entity. They get to order it just
Business
kind of a
as
normal
usual.
way, for bars and
Business
pubs.
as usual for commercial use, and
It's based on their capacity.
And I believe the United States is the only one that has to use ESPN Plus. So that would mean you guys, also known as USA Light, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love the Canadians. You guys get to order it however you've ordered it in the past. But I would check up on that. And, by all means, the ESPN Plus app, it does not suck, by the way. So I know you guys have access to that. Get it. And I think I would just go with that. You're going to save yourself the $5, and I haven't had any streaming issues on my end.
I agree. I'd love to have access to it for the pay-per-view side of things, because I think, like Dana talked about with discounts and stuff, I think when they get a fight maybe where the main event drops out last minute, like what happened down in Australia or New Zealand there a little while ago, they can throw that fight on for now $29.95 instead of $49.95 or something like that, which I don't think we're going to have access to those discounts up here.
That's interesting. I didn't think of that one. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. We got to do one more break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Shout out to Weldon Smith from Costa Mesa, California, chilling here in the studio. Known this character for, 5 years of high school. Plus, we've been out for 36 years.
Private school?
Yeah, it was him, by the way. I went 4, he went 5. All right, we'll be right back after this break.
The brothers Garcia seemingly can't agree on anything.
Everybody knows it's duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Whether it's food,
Less filling.
Tastes great.
Less filling.
Tastes great.
gambling,
Always bet on black.
I like red.
Black.
Red.
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy.
or even social media.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
The same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
Today's hashtag daily debate for at MMA Junkie Radio. How will the UFC's new pay-per-view deal with ESPN affect viewership for numbered events? Increase average buys, little change to buys, slightly decrease buys, or notably decrease buys? Goes.
Notably decreased buys.
Ooh.
But I want to say for
Look at
like
negative Nancy over here.
well, for like the first 2 months. There's so much going on in the world.
Be a pushback? Like, I don't want to
No.
ESPN Plus.
Okay, maybe a little bit for a little while, but there's a reason why this is MMA Junkie. We're junkies. You can't live without mixed martial arts, okay?
Right.
But there's a large group of people that just don't know how to do things. There's a large group of people that forget things. I'm one of those guys. I didn't even know it was the day to vote until the day it was to the last day to vote. I do my taxes on the second to the last day, around there. I'm one of those guys. There's a lot of those people that go, I don't want to get the. How do I get the app? How do I do that?
Reminding you, baby.
Yep. So I think that's going to happen with a lot of these people.
See, I am half glass full type of guy, and those 4 letters ESPN I've seen when they were like a Joker. They had a set that was so bad it honestly looked like the Joker's Wild.
I remember that.
And so I've seen ESPN grow up, but they're a powerhouse right now, and they have a lot of shows. And what I've seen in these 2.5 months, it was no shocker to me that they did that quick renegotiation because they're all in on the UFC. The UFC's all in on them. And so I just feel like this is a step forward for the sport, for the UFC. I mean, look how quick they grabbed PFL as well.
But what's your response, though? What's your pick?
Right? Increase average buys.
Increase right now, right off the bat, like that? You're crazy.
Yeah, Connor's healthy. Jones is healthy. So, and they just keep making new stuff.
Dude, I forget who the NBA is on. Are they on NBC, ABC? I can't remember all this stuff. I'm telling you. A lot of people are going to be like, how do I get it again? Which cards? I thought I just saw it on ESPN. Now I got to watch. I got to get the app.
But you know when the finals are on, and you know when the playoffs are on, like the NFL championship, the big stuff, Champions League, World Cup, you know that. The small little, like who's Sacramento playing? The Phoenix Suns? I mean, what are they? That I get. But the big stuff, you know what's up.
I don't know.
All right, this is how it was broken down. 33% agree with you. Notably decreased buys. Second place, little change to buys. That's 28%. 25% said slightly decreased buys. And 14% with me, I'm always in last, increase average buys. So thank you to all you that voted, Junkie Nation, the viewers of the site, and the listeners of the show. You guys rule. I don't care what Josh and Go say. All right, and that's the Daily Debate brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team. Now, we are going to take a quick break, and we will be back in about 60 seconds. It's a top of the hour break. Stay close.
Tell your boss to reschedule that meeting. Call your wife and tell her lunch is off. It's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes.
Goes, were you watching when I just spoke to Weedy right now? A second ago? Like 30 seconds ago.
No.
You weren't?
No.
I got the equivalent of what Sensei Kreese does the Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
He just gave me the equivalent.
He didn't answer your question? Just turn around?
I was explaining to my friend here that the new stadium here in Las Vegas Stadium is going to be built.
Yeah, it wasn't 30 seconds.
Well,
yeah, okay.
I could have, whatever. And that I hope that when they re-up and redo this sportsbook that, we stay where we're at, right?
Yeah.
I looked at him, and you know what he did to me?
Huh.
You're me now. Finish that sentence, what I just said.
And we're just hoping that we get to keep this prime real estate.
He literally looked at me and then just looked at the game. Like, not even like a thumbs up or I hope you lose or I'm with you, buddy. Nothing. He just stared at me and then it just looked at whatever was up there was more interesting.
Huh.
And I sat there and I was like, oh, okay. Like,
oh, you took it like a champ.
Huh? Well, then we were coming back to commercial, but I was like that.
You know what reference I like?
Tripped me out there.
That you used in the last segment. I don't know if Josh is old enough to remember this, but ESPN, when they first started, I know exactly what desk you're talking about because a lot of times during anniversaries.
It looked like a game show, didn't it?
It did. It looked like a combination of that.
And
or
the Bob Lee's hair, the mops these guys were rocking. I mean, they weren't as cool as they are now. Now they got commercials and those fitted suits and all that shit. But, I mean, it was the geek
like
squad
Wally George
then,
or something. Should have had his feet up on the...
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was bad. The
as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, man, I remember that. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, and now they got personalities that are doing it, doing it right. And they have great, talking head shows or news wrap-up shows or, they got NFL on their network. They got NBA on their network. They've had all the major sports at one time or another. ESPN's the shit, man. You got to give them theirs. But at one point, like, you skipped over that channel. There was just no reason to be there. Like, it didn't look good. It didn't sound good. It just, I don't know. It was like Wally George is perfect. It's kind of what, if you tuned in long enough, you're like, who's this yahoo talking?
I remember one time, I used to miss a lot of school. And I remember one time watching it. And then for those of you who don't know, George is my brother. He called into the show. And you were supposed to be at school. And I was at my mom's dry cleaner business, and I'm just watching, and then all of a sudden they go, next we have George from Santa Ana or something, and then you asked something about the Olympics or some shit like that. And I was like, what? And I think my mom even kind of like heard it and was like, was that George? And I had to like change the channel real quick.
KDOC, Channel 56?
Something like that, yeah.
And did you know that his daughter was Rebecca De Mornay from
he disowned her,
Risky Business? He didn't like the scenes she did with Tom Cruise, and he didn't like to talk about her much. But that was his daughter. And she was also later in the Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
Yeah.
She, I mean, I don't want to say she was a great actress, but I loved her in those two movies, especially Risky Business. All right. So right now, as we try and locate Mike Brown, one of the subjects we were going to talk with Mike Brown was the big win that Jorge Masvidal had this past weekend in London, England. Jorge, of course, knocked out Darren Till in the second round of their main event. And then afterwards, there was more fisticuffs backstage when Leon Edwards kind of creeped into that zone, that little post-fight area where I believe it was, I was going to say Heidi Andro. It wasn't Heidi Andro. It was Laura Sanko was interviewing the fighters. And you've all seen the video by now. If not, you can find it on MMA Junkie's front page. They exchange words. Masvidal walks over casually, hands behind his back. And then, boom, throws a three-piece combo along with a soda, he says, and lit up Edwards. He really, really did get him. And that's why I feel like that's the fight that will be made next. And I think that's a headline bout with high implications. But there's a couple cuts that we have here of Masvidal talking about his fight and everything that happened backstage. So let's go one by one. This is Masvidal. Says he feels great mentally after his win.
Great. Me and my coaches envisioned it. They knew that I cut a lot of out of my life. I don't know if I could say that. Sorry. And we were just in a very positive mindset going into this camp. A lot of the stress I've dealt with in the past was no longer around, and numerous things that I've done in my personal life to correct it. I've always been a hard worker in the gym. I'm always at the gym. but just side factors and stuff, you know.
It's funny how he right there could have put his coaches on blast just by that comment, you know. Yeah, you know, my coaches were saying cut all them Cuban freeloaders out of your life. Oh, wait, was I supposed to say that?
Yeah.
Anyway, now he talks about the backstage confrontation with Edwards. This is how he saw it. This is how he saw it go down.
Man, this guy, he's one of these hooligans, man. He's like talking crap on social media. I've seen him here. Doesn't really address me as a man, you know. I wanted to talk to him kind of, you know, and he's just like dodging me and like, whatever, we can handle it after the fight. So I'm doing my interview. This hooligan comes by saying some stuff. And July, get your ass kicked, or July. And I go, maybe, bro, whatever, because maybe I want to kick your ass in April. Maybe I don't want to wait till July. Maybe I don't even want to fight you in a prize ring because you're not worth a training camp. I'll just fight you here because you're a scrub, you know. So I tell him, just say it to my face. Like, man, you're saying it, walking away. That's not, like, we're both men, you know. And as I'm walking up to him, I got my hands behind my back to signal I'm not coming here for problems. But he put his hands up like this. It's on video, and he walks towards me. Well, where I'm from, if you do that, you're going to punch me in the face, and that's not going to happen. You know, you're a dork, you're JV beta, you are what you are, bro. You're just a loser in life, man. You're not going to get a hit off me, you know. So I had to give him the 3-piece with the soda and then just glide out of there, you know. And then some of his friends tried to sucker punch me. Those guys did a big mistake because your visa in America is not revoked, because if you land in America, it's going to be some problems. I mean, there's problems here already, but those people can't go to America no more.
Well, and George has to concern himself that he can go back to the UK. Not
Yeah.
that he lives there or anything, but
Well, luckily no charges were filed.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you're right.
I can't say enough about how entertaining this guy is without even trying to be. Just the way he conducts himself, the way he talks. He doesn't try and act hard. He just kind of is. We all know where he's from. The 305, by the way. Miami, Florida. You've seen him in those Kimbo videos, but guess what? The Street Fighter grew up, became a mixed martial artist, and he can go out there and fight with the best. He just took out the number 3 guy, depending on what rankings you see, anywhere from 3 to 5, and he did it in his home country, and then lit up another Brit backstage, as he described there. Now, Masvidal's staying a little bit too positive here, in my opinion. I love the guy, but he thinks the title shot's next. Let's see how he describes this.
What do you think this win does for you?
I think it sets me up for the title, like, no questions about it. My body of work speaks for itself, you know. For some reason, every time I'm like fighting overseas, I sell out these events, so I'm like a worldwide figure, you know. I sold out Korea as well. I came to England. I'm not gonna say I sold it out by myself. I had some help, but I definitely, everywhere I go, I get my name noticed. I go to Latin America, I'll fill up a football stadium, you know. So it's only right, I think, I'll fight for a title, you know. The biggest, if not for a title, the biggest name I get my hands on. I'm not gonna fight any of these scrubs that just came into the UFC, just talk a lot, and they live on Twitter.
Correct. He can fight for a title shot. He could do well in most arenas. He's very well known and respected. But right now, at this time, it just doesn't appear to be his time. The UFC president, Dana White, has already said Usman will fight Colby Covington. Mm-hmm. And the champion wants Colby Covington. So that's a 1-2 punch there. Sometimes the promoter and the incumbent champion will talk, you know. And you know, I just think he's going to have to take one more fight, at least, and then see where he's at, because he's still fighting off Woodley, who wants a rematch, or I guess the rematch with Usman, or I guess correctly we could say the winner of Usman and Colby. And then you got other guys that are charging hard. Now, the thing that hurts George is he sat out for the last 15 months. The fight before that was a loss to Stephen Thompson. Stephen Thompson wins on Saturday and looks great. His stock is just as solid because of that key win. Masvidal lost to Thompson, but he beat Till. Till beat Thompson, but he lost to Masvidal. Thompson beat Masvidal, but he lost to Till. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of, that's a round robin right there. It's confusing, man, but this is the bullshit I have to deal with rankings. You know, it's something I look at all the time, and I'm very familiar with how it works. I will always say this, though. If you sell tickets, if people are saying your name and they're involving you in these fights on social media, or, you know, when they do these interviews, then you will get ushered to the front of the line. So that's why I expect that if George stays busy, the world is his. He walks out the Scarface, and I think that's where I first saw that the world is yours. The world is his.
I was gonna say that I want to say early on Usman wanted to fight Masvidal. I thought he had put that out.
Really?
Like saying, that scrub Kobe Covington doesn't deserve something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that pressure might have came a little bit from Ali's side.
Mm-hmm.
But then, he did change his tune a little bit. I thought Dana had a pretty good explanation of it all. He was just saying, look, the streak isn't there for Masvidal. Yeah, he looked great, and a lot of people can point to Usman getting it over Colby because of that. But in this particular case, it's just the record doesn't show.
I wonder what he thinks of Brock Lesnar's streak.
That would be a good comeback.
All right. So, quick update. I think we still haven't been able to connect with Mike Brown. And this is what I usually like to do in this instance, because we still have 2 more guests coming. Let's take an early break, and I want to hammer this one out. That way, if this guest circles back, at least we know that we got this out of the way, and we can trudge through and stick to the schedule. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93, and we'll be right back.
Voice, and they get paid to be lame. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Every game of Westwood One's coverage of the NCAA tournament is on SiriusXM. Get your radio ready now by setting up your presets with these channels. Your home base for all of our coverage is ESPN U Radio Channel 84. If you have Sirius Radio, you'll find games on channels 135 through 138. If you have an XM radio, the games are on channels 201 through 203 and 207. You can always find game channels online at SiriusXM.com/college basketball schedule. Remember, the key channel is ESPNU Radio, channel 84. That's your home base. March Madness. I love it. All right, we still haven't heard back from Mike Brown, so I want to circle back to Regos.
We haven't heard
from
him. No.
Yeah. So I want to circle back to some of these cuts from the big interview that Dana White has been having regarding the UFC extending their deal with ESPN and the UFC extending their deal with Dana White. This is Dana White, cut number 7, his relationship with Ari Emanuel, the guy that re-signed him.
You know what?
Hang on 1 second.
Let's wait off on that just for...
Up.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, life is crazy sometimes.
Oh, okay, yeah. It can be crazy at times. You're
right.
It
can, yeah. I want to ask you a question, George, and I want you to be 100% honest. Who you got in March Madness tournament this year?
To win it all?
To win it all, fool.
I'm going to go with...
Who's going to win the Sweet
Well, I didn't know if you wanted me to give
16?
you the four, the Final Four, and then ease into it. I'm going to go...
Nah, you know what? Give me the Final Four, and then ease into it.
This is the 1 year that I'm going to be a jerk. I'm taking all number ones.
That's your thing. You never do that.
I never do it because I think any monkey can do that. My mom could do that, right? Mm-hmm. The waitress here could do that. Some jagoff over there could do that. Well, I study it. I know, that
our mom listens. I don't want her to think she's a monkey.
The number 12 versus the number 5 strategically, statistically, that one hits a lot. I do all that shit, and I'm always like middle of the pack. I think I won it once in my existence of 49 years. And so to win it all, though, I'm just going to give you my to win it all. I won't do number 1 on all the pools, but on one of them I purposely did it this year. Felt good, too. Gonzaga.
Gonzaga?
I'm just going to go with Gonzaga.
Okay.
I don't give a shit about Duke and all those other universities, so I might as well just give a shit for it's a West Coast school, and God bless them. They're a small school in Washington, and I don't think they have the resources of these other teams do, but yet they're there and they're balling, so I'm rooting for them.
All right, well, as previously teased, this is a clip of Dana White on Ari Emanuel and their relationship, right?
Okay.
I would say that the relationship with me and Ari, I do what I do over here. I have the vision for where the sport's going to go and what we're going to do and the different types of fights. And what Ari does is Ari's the guy that can pick up the phone and get anybody on the phone. And Ari can raise money like this. And, the vision that this guy has too. We're walking down the hall one day and this building is expensive. He's literally walking out and he looks out the window and he says, I want to buy that building next door. I said, what? You want to buy that building next door? It's like 130,000 square feet. It's like, yeah, I want to buy that building. So Ari is not afraid to lay it on the line and go for it. And like when he and I got in business together, we talked earlier about all the negativity. I'll bet on me and Ari any day of the week. So it really is perfect business relationship.
Wow. It sounds like he's getting... Look, the Fertittas were pretty much a blank checkbook as well. Mm-hmm. But what I'm wowing to is the fact that that Ari is... Okay, here's what I'm wowing to. Everybody has these concerns. Oh, my God, they got these big payments. It was a big... took a lot of loans to pay for this, and they got to repay the $4 billion and all that. This, to me, sounds like they're not worried about that, and they want to continue growing. Parlay that with what you hear Dana White saying, that they're going to build UFC PIs in Latin America, the big one in China, this new deal with ESPN. Business is clicking. If business is good for the UFC, it's good for all of us. You know what I mean? The fact that they want to continue to grow that headquarters, I don't know if anybody's taken... I mean, most media members have taken a tour. I don't know if any fans have been lucky to take a tour, but it's massive.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like they could grow into that. And the fact that they want to, I don't know if that would be double the size or what it is, because I don't know what the square footage is. But I know 120,000 square feet is pretty damn big. That's great. And I don't know if that happens to be they're building their own little mini arena. It's going to hold 1,700. That's when they're going to do Contender Series, Ultimate Fighter, and maybe other stuff.
What does something like that look like? Is that like House of Blues?
1,700 would be similar to...
Not like Southpaw,
I
right?
bet you. Oh no. Hold on, that's a good question. The Pearl holds 1,700. No, the Pearl's about 3,200. Yeah. So something smaller than like the Joint or the Pearl. Maybe House of Blues isn't a bad guess.
All right.
Nice and cozy. All right, I want you guys to hear this one. Keep going. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're ready to go. It's time. It's time. I got thrown off. I apologize. Marlon Vera is joining us now on the hotline. He fights Frankie Saenz on Saturday at UFC Nashville. What's up, Marlon? How you doing?
What's up, bro? Doing great. Just finished a training session and just I could be, happy about the training. Training's going well. Just finished a good session. Feeling strong. Just feeling all right, man. I cannot wait.
Marlon, I'm gonna be honest with you. Sounds like you got your ass kicked by your trainer or something. You sound kind of exhausted. Was it? You must have went hard today.
I literally finished my last round of the pass. We pushed a little bit of the pace, but feeling great, dude. The weight is good. The cardio looks fine, and the mental is the most important part. And that's the thing that is important right now.
I was gonna ask you about the mental, because you always seem to be pretty prepared when it comes to the physical, but. It was a rough stretch there where there was a chance you could fight in Anaheim. They canceled the card. Las Vegas, and then, of course, we know what happened there. And now you got to fight in Nashville. Was it hard to kind of keep it together for what was probably one of the longest camps of your career?
Trust me, this is one of the shortest camps of my career. I had one that is the longest one, I think, in the UFC history, bro.
How long was that camp?
Well, the first time I moved to the U.S., I was supposed to fight the Chinese guy, Lin Wan Yu. The first fight was scheduled to be in the Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz rematch in Vegas.
Uh-huh.
And then something happened with his visa. Then they put us the next week on Canada. That was Carlos Condit against Demian Maia.
Uh-huh.
Then he popped positive on Club but it looks like Club is in the water or whatever the fuck, I don't know, in China. So they got canceled again. Then the next weekend was Hidalgo. That car was packed. So they sent us to Australia. That was Robert Whittaker against Derek Bronson. So that was a pretty long camp. That was from July all the way till November, if I'm not wrong, or October.
Yeah, that was a long camp and a long trip to Australia just to fight. But you got the win, so I guess if you got past that, you can get past any form of adversity.
Well, honestly, to me, it's not the end of the world. Something happened. Like I got sick in Vegas. Yeah, like what I can do, be depressed, crying, kill myself. No, it's fucking life, Yeah, I need to fight to make money. Yeah, that's one part of life. But everybody needs to make money, so it's not like I'm dying or I blow out my knee or something like really bad. So it's just like, okay, I feel bad for a day, then I rest for like a week, take the medicine, get the flu out of myself, and then, life goes on. So I always keep it simple, If you overthink stuff, then you make it harder, and then, I just keep my mind clear. I have a mental coach. I do a lot of yoga. I eat healthy, which, believe it or not, that helps in your mental state and in your way of seeing things, and that's how I do things. I work hard, but I also plan my stuff. It's not about me, but it's about winning. And when you want to win, you gotta plan and stuff, and of course you work hard. But you gotta make sure you're doing everything in the circle, not just one thing.
Frankie Saenz is a really solid opponent. I've been watching him for many years, but would it be fair to say that? He's 38 now. You're 26. Do you think we've seen the best of Frankie Saenz already? And in your opinion, do you feel like he's priming like you are?
Oh no, dude! Definitely his prime gone. That doesn't mean he cannot beat me. That doesn't mean he cannot, catch me in something or just fucking fuck me up for 15 minutes. I keep it real. It's still a fight. But when I say I keep it real, he's an old man, and he got less chances than I. So I just have to fight smart, go in there and put a performance, because now it's my time. I'm the young guy. I'm the one that, I get my ups and downs, but I'm still John, I haven't reached my prime. I'm 26. I take it seriously. He might take it too, but you cannot keep up unless you're in the Mexican supplements, which I think you can because Usad is here in the game already.
Marlon Vera, guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He's going to be fighting on Saturday at UFC Thompson versus Pettis, also known as UFC on ESPN Plus 6. Again, Saturday in Nashville, Tennessee at the Bridgestone Arena. What do you have for Marlon Vera?
Marlon, we've met you a couple times, and in doing research for the interview, I came across your age. You just said it's 26, and it struck me as strange because you're one of the most mature guys that we ever talked to. You're always in a good mood. You always say good things. When I was 26, I wasn't anywhere like that at all. I was very immature. So my question to you is, can you maybe tell us when was the last time you did something that was just kind of immature?
Oh, probably a couple of minutes ago. I'm a complete fucking mess, dude. You gotta also know we are fighters, so in order to be a fighter, you gotta be a fucking savage and have something wrong in your mind. But I also have 3 kids, so I gotta keep it nice and good for them, so they can have, for example, sometimes I talk a little bit of shit, but I never cross the line, just because I want my kids to know I was a guy who worked hard, fight hard, but I always put an example. Even if you talk a little bit of shit, always keep it real. You never cross the line and just be a fucking clown like other guys, which works for them because looks like the media. All of you guys talk about that, but I just for my kids, I don't show the kind of the real face of Chito Vera, but I try to just be that type of Chito in close with my friends and my family, and to the outside, to the world, I try to keep it as much professional as I can, just because I want to provide a good example for those 3 kids I have.
On that same topic of the media, how different is the media back home for you as compared to the media here in the United States?
Actually, the media isn't that big over there. Like, it's everything about soccer. My fan base out there, of course, is something crazy. Like, I could say, like, it's kind of like, it's not hard to go to the street because it's cool to have that, so it's awesome, but it's a point that it's just too much. Like, so much people know you and everybody want to get a hold of you, but I appreciate that because that's what make me make money, that's what make me keep it up, that's what make me stay where I am, so that's good, That's what make me check the UFC record someday if I keep winning. But media-wise, I believe, like, I will need probably the American more because that's the one that will make you know around the world, make you know to that big fan base that America has. In Ecuador, I think I already reached that big potential that I was looking for.
No, you haven't. So if you become a world champion, you're gonna tell me you're not gonna be bigger in Ecuador? I think you'd be a lot bigger.
Oh, of course, no. Of course, every fight I become bigger.
Yeah.
But I already make it to a point that everybody, since the popular to the, like, I think all the classes know me already. Since the Pepsi thing happened, and I was in every billboard, in every single street, since the better neighbor to the worst neighbor, there was a picture of myself in a Pepsi Cola. So that was very already known, like a soccer player. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, everybody knows a soccer player over there. So I reached that potential. Of course, everything grows up. Everybody will love you more, yeah. But I think they already know me. I just have to keep winning and make it bigger because it's all about that. It's all about winning and making it bigger.
Latin America loves their heroes, and if this guy can win a world title, I'm telling you, they'll rename one of the beaches on the Galapagos Islands after Chito Vera.
Yeah.
You watch, I'm telling you.
So we're making it some days, but it's all about one step at a time and give everything you have inside you, and then those things will just come by.
I would go to that beach, but I'm not wearing a Speedo. I know how they do it out there.
That's more
I'm gonna
Brazil.
Have to wear board shorts.
Do you guys wear?
That's more in Brazil. In Ecuador, people use board shorts.
Yeah. Okay. Are the Pepsi billboards still up, or is you still have that relationship?
The relationship is still on, but the contract is up. So they take a couple ones off, but I think they're lazy enough to just leave some of them.
Well, that was big, man. We were proud of you for doing that. All right, listen, I know
that was good.
I know it's fight week. We'll keep it short. It's always great to catch up with you. Sounds like you're in good spirits and you're ready to go for Saturday night against Frankie Saenz. We will be tuning in on ESPN Plus, my man.
Oh yeah, I will keep an eye on it. I believe this win will put a number next to my name by Tuesday. So I'm looking forward.
All right.
Shut up and Saturday night.
Once the fight's over, though, no 3-piece and sodas, though. You gotta, I think Masvidal, you gotta be careful with that one. So you just stick to inside the octagon.
Oh well, I always keep it inside the octagon, but somebody touch me, trust me, it's going down. It doesn't matter who it is.
So that almost happened in the UK once, right?
Straight to the dick. So I'm from Naples, so trust me, I will kick in the nuts and I will tell you fuck off.
What was that story
I'm
he
a
told us?
professional.
He was in the UK, right? He was having breakfast, and I think one of the UK fighters was giving you shit. You remember that one, Marlon?
Oh, that was Brett Jones I came to him because his fight got canceled. So I was like, dude, I'm sorry, blah blah. Have a good night. I was drunk, and then I was talking to my coach, and then I don't know how in the fuck he understand or something wrong, and he was saying I was making gong shots there with my fingers. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm not a fucking gang, so get the fuck out of here.
Gang signs? You thought you were making gang signs?
Like I was making with my fingers like a pistol sign, like pom pom. I was like, bitch, I'm not a fucking loser in that shit.
Oh man, let me see if I can dig up that interview. That you gave us such a funny story that day. But anyway, again, thank you so much for the time, and good luck on Saturday. All right?
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Have a good one.
All right, take care. That's Marlon Vera. Follow him on Twitter at Cheeto Vera UFC. He always cracks me up, man.
Dude, he's hilarious.
Yeah. Frankie Saenz, who do you got? He's off the air. You can go the other way if you want.
No, I got Marlon.
So do I.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Those 12 years are a lot. 26-year-old against a 38-year-old. Saenz is coming off, I think, 2 consecutive wins, but he was kind of when he first got into the UFC, got those 3 wins. He was just a machine, man. He was motoring through a lot of guys, and then he hit a 3-fight win streak. And even though he's won his last 2, I just feel like we've seen the best of Saenz, and I feel like Cheeto just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a roadblock, but he said all the right things. Some of it was mental, some of it was physical, his diet, all that, yoga. So it seems like he's gotten over it. 2-fight win streak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's take our last break of the show. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
To be lame. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, from one fighter fighting on the Nashville card to another. Joining us now on the hotline is Angela Hill. She'll be fighting Randa Marcos on Saturday. You can follow her on Twitter at Angie Overkill. And may I say that she's very entertaining on Twitter. She's one of the better ones, especially on fight day.
Mm-hmm.
She's out there giving her comments, but a lot of times she's clowning.
But she doesn't push it. She's funny enough
it's
where
hilarious.
it's like, she gives you a good break. They're all good.
Right, exactly. She's in no way overbearing, but I really, I think it's one of the better follows. All right. She joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Angela Hill? How you doing? Welcome back to MMAjunkie Radio.
Hey, thank you. Man, what an intro. I'm so flattered.
Well, I just tell it like it is. I mean, I enjoy your banter on fight nights and all the time. I follow you on Twitter, but especially on fight nights, you're lighting fools up.
Cool. Yeah, I try to keep it classy. I don't want to run into anyone on fight week that I pissed off on Twitter, and they're like, "Oh, fuck you up." But yeah, it's all in good fun. You know how hard it is to get in there in the first place. So I have certain rules that I try to follow when it comes to joking online and just kind of picking fun at people. I try to make it fun, something that they would laugh at themselves if they were in the room and I was clowning them.
Has anyone ever confronted you, or just not like they want to throw down or anything, but anyone ever told you, hey, I didn't like that?
No, not a fighter. It's actually pretty funny. I've never gotten anyone upset, I think, except for maybe Tisha Torres when we fought in Mexico City. That was a long time ago, and I really went in on her. I drew a picture. I drew a picture of me sacrificing her one of the ancient Mayan tombs, and I did a bunch of random shit. But I just figured it was dorky enough that she wouldn't get offended. But I think she was just tired of me tagging her and things. Before we fought. So I've toned it down a bit. But yeah, I still try to keep the same energy, just having fun with the fighting thing. If I do talk shit, I try to keep it funny, just because there's too much serious shit talk in MMA. That's everyone does it. And a lot of people do it badly. And I feel if I tried to actually talk shit to someone and make them cry, I would probably stutter and sound stupid like Colby Covington or something.
Angela, your audio keeps going in and out. Is there anything that you can do to keep?
Maybe because it was my phone's plugged in. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you real good right now. Thank you. We were able to hear everything else, but it was just kind of in and out. All right, so now let me ask you this. Has anyone ever pissed you off with a comment, or do you also have a good sense of humor, towards when people are joking with you?
Yeah, I can't recall anyone saying anything that got me upset. At least not a fighter. Of course, trolls will go online and they'll go, "Oh, who are you? Oh, look at your record." And it's well, I have a record that you can look up. So it's kind of I used to kind of fight with trolls online and try to just make them block me. But now I've just been blocking people and or muting them, or just not giving them the attention that they crave. So that's kind of one thing that I've grown to do. But yeah, the MMA roasted guy, Adam Hunter, he's poked fun at me before after a win or a loss, and it's all in good humor. He'll still message me after a fight, just be "Hey, awesome fight." So I feel anyone who's around fighters a lot, who's kind of in it, they get permission to poke fun and yeah.
Okay. Now, I promoted your Twitter handle, and as I was scrolling through, for one, let's give a good plug towards Two Straws, you and Jessica Penne. I'm fans of what you guys do, breaking down the fights. I dig it, and I hope you guys just keep doing it, because I think you're doing a great job of it. It's very entertaining. It's very different, and you guys are awesome. But I scroll a little further,
Awesome.
and I'm seeing you sign 1,000 posters. Did you pose for that picture, or is that just how you sign with one arm over your head? And
Oh yeah, we went to took my butt out. No, no, it was just for the one post.
Oh, it was just for the one post.
But, yeah. I don't even think I don't even know how many posters it was, but it definitely wasn't 1,000.
All right.
Just a little exaggeration there.
Hey, Randa Marcos is tough. You know, I feel like I always like to promote the fights because, look, this is the UFC. The best fight the best. And I feel like Randa Marcos is one of those that often gets overlooked, but, you know, you're a former Invicta champ. You're a veteran of the Ultimate Fighting Championship for a few years now. And this is a fight people need to pay attention to at 115 pounds. She's also gotten some solid wins, and every time she comes out, whether she wins or loses, she's going out there, you know, and performing.
Yeah, she's definitely tough. She has a lot of forward pressure. She's very aggressive, but I think I'll perform better against people like that. I think when I have to chase them down and like hit them and like worry about like catching up with their backpedaling before I can hit them, then that kind of messes me up a little. It like messes up my rhythm. But when someone's like coming forward and I'm coming forward, then we just go at it. And I feel like I always come out, you know, like as putting on a better performance than I would have if I had to track them down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm definitely excited about this fight. I think you know, we were both on Tough together, and I just feel like I've kind of evolved a lot since I was on Tough. I mean, when I was on Tough, I was basically a Muay Thai fighter. I only had one fight. I had 16 Muay Thai fights. So, like, making that whole transition from being a Muay Thai fighter to an MMA fighter was really, really tough. Like Muay Thai, if you ever watch it, like, you have no footwork, you stand straight up, you know, like you just stand in front of each other and hit each other until one person falls over. So that's like where I was coming from. And in MMA, that just gets you taken down. So I had a lot of evolving to do. I had a lot of learning to do with, like, you know, just getting lost in the scrambles and knowing how to keep myself safe and learning how to attack myself. And, you know, like, I feel like Randa kind of came into Tough with a lot of the tools that she still has. So I feel like with me, there's more surprises. And with Randa, like, you know, she's going to throw everything at you, but, like, it's still not, like, that surprising. Like, you just know she's going to come at you, be tough, and be aggressive. But, yeah, I think I could trip her up with some stuff.
I know the ultimate goal is to go in there and get the win, but aside from that, do you have other goals, like what you want out of your performance, even as simple as, hey, I want 50 G's, you know, which every fighter does, but you know what I mean? Like, is there something specific you're looking for as you get your hand raised from this fight?
I mean, people always say, coaches always say, don't look for the finish, let it come to you, then fall in your lap, but man, I want to get my first UFC finish, like, so bad. Like, getting that taste in Invicta. I mean, I had my first MMA fight was a knockout, and then my first Invicta fight was a knockout. And so I just have to figure out how to put it together against this tougher competition, just because, like, you know, in Invicta and in other MMA leagues, you don't have girls who are training full-time, who are dedicating their entire life to fighting just because the paycheck isn't as big. So, like, I know that I have the power to knock people out. I just have to figure out how to do it against a more skilled opponent. And I know it's there, you know, like, I see it in training. I see it, you know, I feel it in my hands when I'm hitting pads and when I'm, you know, hitting my training partners. But, like, you know, it just has to happen in the cage. Mm-hmm. And so I know I can get that finish. And, I mean, I've been just working on my ground game too, nonstop. So if I could get a sub finish, that would be amazing too. Like, I just want to get a finish. So, like, I think the big part about this fight camp is learning how to not just look for the punch to the face, but look for other things, to threaten with other things, to threaten with takedowns and subs, and use every kind of like weird thing that happens to my advantage.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's kind of my ultimate goal. I really want that finish. I feel like that's just gonna boost my, I guess, morale,
Right.
and boost my,
Your
my
stock will shoot up a
value.
little. Yeah.
Yes, that's
Okay.
what I was looking for. That's the word I was looking for. Boost my stock like twofold, just to get that finish as opposed to just getting the win.
I got you. All right, Angela Hill's our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. She's fighting Randa Marcos on Saturday at UFC Nashville. Goes, here's a fun fact for you before you start with your line of questions. Angela Hill, we're interviewing her as a UFC fighter. I've seen her fight twice, but never as a UFC fighter. But I did see her fight as a lion fight, Muay Thai fighter, and I've seen her fight as a Invicta fighter where she became a world champion. But how about that? I've seen those two, but I haven't seen her in the UFC yet, so I got to catch her live one day. All right, it's not going to be this Saturday because I won't be in Nashville, but go ahead, Goes. What do you have for Angela Hill?
Well, Angela, one thing that we were talking about a little bit was your Twitter and some of your jokes, and we find them really funny. But one thing that I was curious about was with Randa Marcos, the one thing that when you break her down that I've kind of noticed was sometimes she kind of can fall into those traps, the mental traps. It seems like things that fighters tell her can kind of get under her skin sometimes, and I think they've actually affected her performance. So my question to you is, will there be a little bit of mental warfare at all on your side?
Well, tell that bitch Randa I'm coming for her. Stupid redhead. No, I don't know. Like, I haven't noticed that just because she blocked me as soon as we got off the show. So, like, whatever, like, beef that she's had on social media or whatever, I haven't seen it. But, yeah, I mean, she definitely looks like, or seems like a head case. Like, on the show, she was very standoffish, very unfriendly, and I got it. Like a lot of people went on the show and kind of didn't want to make friends. They had everyone marked as an enemy, and I understand that. But it's still like at the end of the day, the way I view other strawweights is that we're all working. We're all trying to make ends meet. We all have goals. We all have emotions, and like it just doesn't feel that serious to me when it comes to hating people. I mean, I definitely will say I hate all strawweights, but but I'll still be nice to you, like I'll still smile at you or whatever. Just be cordial, be professional. And I think she never figured that side out. She's never really been professional in the face of someone who she could possibly fight. Oh God, I can't. A lot of people have to fight emotionally, and I think she's one of them. Where me, I don't care. I will still want to punch you in the face, even if we're gonna have a beer afterwards. It's that's just the way I'm made. So yeah, that's awesome if she breaks down mentally, because she's blocked me, so I must have gotten under her skin at some point, maybe on the show when I impersonated her way in with Felice, or maybe I don't know, maybe sometime after that when I was trying to ask her to fight me. But yeah, I don't think it takes much. She's one of those sensitive storms.
Last question from us over here in Las Vegas, and again, we're talking to Angela Hill. She's in Nashville, Tennessee. She fights Randa Marcos on Saturday. On your Twitter page, again, at Angie Overkill, you're literally giving somebody a knuckle sandwich in that picture. Who is that?
She there?
Hello?
I'm not sure. One of them girls.
Who is that, Goes? She's giving that's a knuckle sandwich.
One of them strawweights I hate.
Oh.
It might be. It's either it might be Moros or Ansaroff, or I'm not.
It's not Ansaroff. And it's not. I was looking at it as well. It doesn't look like Courtney Casey, but Moros has lighter hair.
It's
but
probably Moros.
It was.
Yeah.
It was actually. That's what you call a knuckle sandwich. She's actually got her knuckles, and it looks like it's in her mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I have a few pictures like that, so I wasn't sure. But somehow I always seem to like get right under the top lip and like right into the bottom lip, so it looks like they're like chomping on the fist. So that's what you call precision, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice jab. That's a really nice jab. And then the cross is already cocked and loaded and ready to dot that eye up even more. So that's a nice sequence. It's a real cool picture anyway. Angela Hill, thank you so much for joining us on Fight Week. We really had a fun time chatting with you, and I hope you go out there and you and Randa have a great fight. May the best lady win, and if it's you, hopefully you get that finish and a bonus as well.
Hell yeah. I'm very excited about this fight, and yeah, she's going down.
All right, well, we'll be tuning in. And again, thanks for the time here on Fight Week. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening. Folks, follow her on Twitter at Angie Overkill, and our other guest, Marlon Vera at Cheeto Vera UFC. A little bit of news here just before we leave. Derek Lewis, remember he injured his knee, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Surgery. He's having the surgery, and he will be out till the end of the year. Two things. One, so let me say it like this, I guess. He needed time off, and I hate that it's coming this way via having to have surgery. But he, what I just wanted to make sure was that he hadn't had it yet. So he's going to have ACL surgery, and he targets end-of-the-year return. It's usually about 9 months. And I guess that would make sense that he could have the surgery soon and then be ready to go by the end of the year. But I think it'll be good to just kind of also have time off to rest any other injuries he has and hopefully come back strong and start something new. But he's had a taste of the title fight. And one thing I've tried to tell Derek along the way, he's let us have a line of questioning with him that sometimes, you just don't have with other fighters. Look, I know you want to make money. But guess what? If you become world champ, you're going to make that money. You know what I mean? So you might as well simultaneously just chase them both.
He takes vacation time, but he never has, like, relaxation time where he's just chilling at home, getting better in the gym, maybe not having to do 2-a-days, but focusing on certain things. So you're right. I think this time will probably help him. Unfortunately, it came that way.
The surgery is going to be next Tuesday. So we will be cheering that it's successful surgery, and hopefully the Black Beast comes back stronger than ever. Tomorrow on the show, Sean O'Connell will join us. He is going to talk some college hoops, the real OC Sports, the PFL Season 1 champion, one of their 6 millionaires this past New Year's Eve, and also a colleague of ours here on the channel. He'll join us, and we'll talk a little bit of hoops because March Madness starts the next day. We'll also talk to Mike Brown. He called back. He apologized, and we've already rescheduled him for tomorrow. Might have one more guest as well. So it's going to be a fun show, and we'll see you in about 22 hours. Remember to keep it locked on Fight Nation Channel 93. Some quality shows here and tons of replays. So, again, it's us, MMA Junkie Radio, busted open. All you pro wrestling fans. Luke Thomas Show and MMA Tonight for some more MMA. And, of course, our friends at the fights. Mondays and Fridays for them, Jerry Cooney and Randy Gordon, the commish. We're out of here. For Josh and Goes, I'm George. Have a nice evening. Go out there and be a champion.